Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for anything and everything related to MSMEs, SMEs, startups, and for everyone that is aspiring to turn entrepreneur and for almost every Indian that is wanting to look at money differently. I'm Sumiit Lakhutia, and every Tuesday we bring you a special look at managing your finances as an entrepreneur, and even if you're an everyday Indian trying to get more bang from your buck. Now, this week we're focusing on the youth of the country. Have you ever wished that you had learned money management earlier in life? Or just wondered as to why aren't we taught about paying taxes rather than science or maybe algebra? Well, today we'll be focusing on the important subject of teaching personal finance to children. And for that, we have three experts lined up on the show who will be sharing their insights with you. CA Bharvi Avlani of Money Smart talks to us about the right age and the best way to teach children personal finance concepts. Kalpesh Ashar of Full Circle Financial Planners and Advisors talks to us about how parents can involve their children in investment planning. And Sambhav Jain, co-founder of FamPay, talks to us about how FamCard is making it convenient for teens to make offline and online payments while teaching them financial prudence. But before that, here are some developments that have taken place in the last few days that you need to know of. I'm now in conversation with Bharvi Avlani of Money Smart Talks. She's a CA by profession and she recently started teaching personal finance to children. Hi Bharvi, thanks so much for coming on the show. Bharvi, how did you realize that this gap in financial education for kids is there and then, decided to try and fill this gap?
Okay, so nowadays kids are overwhelmed with parents are overwhelmed with kids. Like if they demand one, they're giving them five. If they give demand for two, they're just fulfilling every need of theirs. And with the shopping mall culture where everybody usually often goes, I was just analyzing that parents are just swiping the card as and when needed, and because real money started going missing, we realized that kids are not realizing the value on parents are supposed to pay some money, so they also started demanding without any thought process, and because they knew that we just had to swipe. And with the lockdown, they were already fed up with this work from home situation, so they were thinking that our kids are also going through some mental health issue because they are not getting to play. So because of that, they were fulfilling all of their demands, and in this process, the gap of kids realizing even value of money started reducing. And because money as a concept went missing, I was like, it's time that we start teaching kids at base root level, become the potters of their life, and start molding them to financial literacy.
Fantastic. And what age do you recommend and what age have you started teaching children from? What's the age group?
Okay, so Warren Buffett, sir, he himself said that, usually parents are making this mistake of starting to teach kids about money at a later age when they are teens or later into teens or when they're starting college. But he himself said that the right age to start teaching kids is more like when they are in preschool as well. So, however, I'm not dealing with really preschool kids. I teach kids from who are 5 and above to 15 years of age.
Now, that's a big spectrum. That's almost 10 years difference. So how do you
Yes.
approach it by way of, because, in personal finance, there are simple concepts like savings accounts, saving bank accounts, and then there
Yes.
are tougher ones like credit cards and home loans or other kinds of loans. How do you approach this? How do you talk to those kids? How do you explain these concepts to them?
Perfect. So when we've also heard all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So there is only play, play, play that we do. However, you're very right with the 10 years age gap. I've divided into three age groups. So one is usually about say 6 to 8 year olds. The other is 8 to 12 year olds and 12 to 15 year olds. So when 12 to 15 year olds come into picture, we do spending, saving, earning very quickly over like 1 2 sessions, and then I teach them more about investing, what's borrowing, and how does that process go. So when we do 10 sessions, when it comes to kids who are 6 to 8 year olds, there is a lot that goes into money recognition as well, because they don't know how to identify a 200 rupee note or a 500 rupee note. So every session we do games which involve money recognition and basic concepts like earning, spending, saving, and value of money, or how money evolved as a person. But yes, when the kid is above 8 or up to 15, they usually know a little about money. They've seen their parents talking about money, and now that we see a lot of people, like everybody's into stock market, they only know stocks. They don't know what is investing, they don't know what stocks. So at that process, I also do a money personality with them. So there is one session where we find out what their money personality is. Are they like spenders, are they like givers, or are they people who like to only save money? So that's how we do it. So they enjoy the process on learning a little more about, say, saving, investing, borrowing, banking, etc., like that.
One concern I'm sure parents have is that, my kid is too young. Why I don't want to burden them by explaining them about money. Or the other thing is, I don't want to tell my kids how much I make or how much I have, because I don't want them to think that, hey, there's a whole treasure chest out there. What are these some concerns that are raised to you? How do you address them? What are some other concerns
Yes,
that come?
yes. Tell me about it. Like I get to listen to this on like everyday basis. People should understand that money is a skill that they're going to be using when they grow up. So when it's time for kids to choose between extracurricular, they choose between say music, art, dance, craft, or the STEM thing that's coming up. But try considering money as an extracurricular activity or a skill, because you're going to be using that the most. It's not sure that your child is going to be a musician post graduation, or your child is going to be something, but whatever is it, he's going to be using money. But I just feel that this class is not going to really go make them go out and earn money. It's about awareness. So when you're aware about something, or when you're financially literate, you just try to go in that direction.
So, Bharvi, 3 tips as we start winding up. 3 tips to parents on guiding their kids to, understand money, to understand personal finance.
Okay, so if I want to concise and wrap up on a very very nice note, I will say that parents start thinking about money or financial literacy as a skill. Be the potter in their life and help them mold into the right pot at this age, because if not now, later is going to be very difficult. So the second thing is, if you want to start, as I told you in the first step, the second is, don't be overwhelmed. Stop using words like rich, poor. Guide them to understand that money is a medium of only exchanging things or services. Today you have the power of money, but sometimes you won't have the power of money. But you will always have something which is called as value of money. And the third thing is, get them to train about a little into spending, saving, give them real cash for themselves to understand all things money.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Bharvi. On that note, it's time for a short break. But on the other side, Kalpesh Ashar of Full Circle Financial Planners and Advisors talks to us about why parents should involve children in financial decisions and teach them smart investing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for everything related to MSMEs, startups, and aspiring entrepreneurs. On this special episode, we're looking at why it's important for children to learn about personal finance. And I'm now in conversation with Kalpesh Ashar of Full Circle Financial Planners and Advisors. Kalpesh is a certified financial planner and a registered investment advisor with SEBI. He has almost 2 decades of experience in advising people on investing their hard earned money. Hi, Kalpesh. Thanks for talking to me here today. Kalpesh, we always talk about start investing early. Another important point that we always talk about is budgeting. Yes, we talk about that for the adults. How can kids start that at an early age? Because that budgeting also bring in the much required discipline.
Ideally, I would say today at the age of anything between 8 to 12, on a very, very micro level, the concept of saving, the concept of budgeting, the concept of I would say even making short-term goals for them and letting them achieve it, in fact, and letting them have a sense of pride in achieving them. These are the small steps which you could psychologically start evolving into them. And fortunately, today's generation is so blessed with the digital boom which is going on, that even on your phone or even on their desktops or laptops, we have small softwares where you could actually teach them on a simple an app or something how a budget is made. So just to put it in perspective, if they aspire or desire for a small thing, so for example, if they want a cricket bat, for example, okay, and if they wish to play a sport, or it could be anything, or it could be digital space if they wish to buy a decent enough a laptop or a phone for them. What you need to tell them is not to give it to them immediately, but to slowly start putting aside some money which you give them, and tell them that how it grows. Teach them the importance of time. Teach them the importance of putting aside money, for even forsaking some of your existing pleasures in order to achieve that goal. So a constant hand holding, but not too much of interference, just imbibing the concept that for your future goal, this is what you need to set aside. It could be very simple what we are talking. It's just repetition what I'm talking, but it is very necessary. But through the magical, I think, digital boom which is going on, I think they understand these things very, very simpler. So the hand holding of the parent without being too much of an interferer in the process, I think that's the right way to start. But do it in small doses. Don't go overboard with it.
And Kalpesh, the savings account is quite helpful now. Banks offer savings accounts for children also. And I know some savings accounts also have now started giving monthly interest instead of quarterly interest. Your thoughts on, is it a good thing to start introducing your child to a banking system at an early age when they start getting more and more aware about these things?
So, right, like what I described in the first part, that the age between 8 to 12 is the age where you do the hand holding at home. You do it in your home. But from the age of 12 to say 16, ideally when a kid is somewhere between the 6th standard and his 10th standard, you start taking him physically with you to a bank. Introduce him to online banking. Don't, of course, disclose all your monetary financial profile to him, but do it in a way where he understands that how these transactions are happening. What is the importance of a bank? What goes on into a bank? The concept of a savings account. How does interest accumulate on amounts which are lying in your account? Teach him the actual calculation of percentage. So, for example, if you say that if he keeps 100 rupees in a bank for 1 year, after 1 year he'll get 104 even if he doesn't do anything with it. So that's 4% interest. These small, minute things. But I think the right age to do that is anytime after the kid comes into the secondary mode, which is from 6th standard to 10th standard, because then he'll also be quite inclined to do that. One more important psychological factor which Sumiit, I would like to draw attention to is very important. Just tell your children not to get too carried away or not to go into the comparison game with their peers, with their friends, because I think that is where the real problem happens. That in school, their peers, their friends might be getting fancy gadgets or might be talking about fancy vacations or trips and all those things. And they also would immediately want to aspire at that. And we know that everybody's financial profile in the world is different. So if his parent or his father cannot afford it and he's unable to give it, I think that will cause a big vacuum in his mind and between the parent and the kid. So even on a psychological basis, tell him not to compare and be probably content with what he has. And even as a parent, it's your duty to keep him satisfied with whatever he wants in your own capacity. Don't go too ballistic about fulfilling his demands at a very early age. I'm talking about the financial part of it. Of course, the emotional part and the family bonding part has to be foremost.
So when the child has reached 16, 18, and they are now starting to look at higher education, which very often involves an international education as well. Uh, how should parents prepare for that financially? How involved should kids be in that? Because sending anybody abroad, or even if you're getting a higher education like a postgraduate degree in India, it does cost a sizable amount. How should kids be involved in that? Should they be involved in that? Your guidance.
So the right thing to do here is that there's nothing wrong in starting early. The concept which we discussed there, for the parents to keep aside a sum for their kids' higher education from a decent amount of time. So ideally, to higher education is anything after 18 years of age or 21 when the kid reaches it. So that's undergraduate or postgraduate. And ideally, you give the higher education corpus around anything between 10 to 15 years to build, because that is where very conveniently a certain sizable amount is built. Second thing is, as we've discussed, that kids are very smart nowadays, and if you have already introduced them to personal finance, your own finances, how money grows, and what's the importance of money in life, and savings, and compounding, and all those aspects. I think the right age today, between 12 to 14, involve your children into their own higher education, discussions.
Yeah.
Because that is very important, because they need to know that what their father and mother are undergoing, the sacrifices which they are making to fulfill the child's higher education dream. So there are two things which would emerge from this. The child would become responsible. He will appreciate the efforts gone in by the parents. Or on the other end, he could even say that I really don't need to do this. I can do it at a much more lesser cost back home in India. Or this is not the vocation or the field which I want to pursue. I want to do not A, but I want to do B. And that B could be costing much, much lesser than what A is projected to be.
Thank you for sharing your valuable insights with us here today, Kalpesh. It's time for a quick break, but on the other side, Sambhav Jain of FamPay talks to us about their aim to raise a new financially aware generation of Indians who understand the fundamentals of personal finance and are capable of making decisions in their best long-term interest. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Leaders of Tomorrow. On this special episode, we're looking at why it's important for children to learn about personal finance. I'm now joined by Sambhav Jain. He's co-founder of FamPay, which is building India's first neobank for teens. Within the first 8 months of its launch in 2020, FamPay garnered over 2 million users. Their product, FamCard, is a numberless prepaid card that teens can use without setting up a bank account. Hi, Sambhav. Thanks for coming on the show. First up, why did you feel that there was a need for a product like FamPay?
So we started with the vision of financial literacy. What we saw was in India, when you're a kid, no one whether in school, whether in banks, like whether parents, no one actually talks about money to you, right? No one teaches you about money. And we understood that people in India don't know how to look at money. If you look at the Western countries, there are concepts of pocket money since the childhood. Kids start getting pocket money. They start like working at, let's say, a Burger King or a McDonald's just to earn for themselves. So they hit financial independence early on. So in India, there is no financial independence or literacy, which impacts your long-term decision making. You don't know, you get confused on your survival, right? Survival becomes the biggest question. So we realized that, okay, personal finance or financial literacy is completely missing. And because of that, kids are handicapped in taking the right decisions in their life. They start questioning their survival in the long term. They're not able to grow, and we are not just even talking about like the credit score, tax saving, investment, and all of that. It's just about looking at money the right way. So yeah, that is what we
Yeah.
started with. We were like, okay, let's solve for financial literacy. Yeah, that's how the idea came in, and we started interviewing a few kids. And
Mm,
when we started talking to the kids, we got to know the golden insight where 90% of the kids we spoke to did not have bank accounts.
mm,
So when we spoke to
mm.
the kids, they were like, I have smartphone, I'm already shopping online, I'm spending online, I'm doing transactions, but I'm borrowing cash from my parents, I'm borrowing their debit card or credit card. I usually call my parents for OTP, and just to buy a pair of jeans, I
Yeah.
have to wait for 6 hours until my parents come home, right? So that was the moment of realization, okay, financial literacy is too far off. These kids don't
Mm,
even have access to digital payments or
mm.
banking. They don't even have access to their own financial tools. So let's solve for that. And that's how the idea for the product came in.
Fantastic. So, how difficult or easy was it to convince the parents about kids using FAM cards? Going back to what your thought was, because it's true, the funda of pocket money is not so prevalent in India. So, how did you face that hurdle? How did you overcome that hurdle?
So yeah, I think it's a journey where we convince, like where we bring that cultural shift that parents start giving pocket money to the kids. The first idea was let's just replace cash with digital, right? We are just replacing that behavior. Whenever it comes to technology, it's the
Absolutely.
kid who helps the parents to learn about forwarding a message on WhatsApp to how to set up a DP on Facebook. It's the kids who do that, right? So we took that behavior and we were like, let the kids convince their parents that okay, this is not something like they're asking to buy a phone of 15,000. It's just that uh, stop giving me cash and just send me money through this. It's easier for me to transact, right? So that's how we are just replacing that cash behavior with digital.
Yeah.
It's definitely adding. There were concerns of a few parents around. Is it secure, right? Why do we need
Mm.
to do KYC? And let's say, can I monitor my kids' expenses and all of that? So those things definitely we had to answer in the early days that yeah, this is completely secure. You have all the protocols. Your money is safe, and yeah, your kid is not going to be spoiled. We have all the right inbuilt checks and limits so that they can't spend more than what you expect them to.
What's the feedback been from kids, parents? Any interesting stories that have come back to you from the usage?
Yeah, a lot of interesting stories have come back. So if you just go on YouTube or our Instagram, you'll find so many kids who have created unboxing videos of the card, who have created a lot of photos, because it's for the kids, it's like their first smartphone or bicycle, right? It's their first card in their life, so they remember it like anything else. They completely own it, right? The sense of ownership is really high, that this is my card, this is my personal card. And so kids really love it. And from the parents, one of the interesting things that we've been noticing is like a lot of parents send, especially moms, so moms send money to their kids' FamPay accounts, and they just ask them to do the whole grocery shopping for the home and the whole electricity bills and all.
Before I let you go, Sambhav, finally, what are the future plans for the company? You're just about more than a year old. So how's it? How's the going? And what's the way ahead?
So yeah, for the times ahead are really interesting, and we are excited for the journey ahead. We recently raised a Series A, and the plans for the next 12 months is to focus on growth. That how can we grow our user base from here to further in the next 12 months. And definitely we have set our internal milestones, and the whole team is like busy chasing that. And also we have a few interesting product launches lined up for the next 12 months. We recently launched our latest card, like FamCard Me. It's called the FamCard Me. It's a premium version of our cards, and it's India's first doodle card. It's completely numberless. We've launched it with Visa, and every user gets a customized card. They can draw doodles on it, and they can customize it like an Instagram story. So it's picking up really well. We just launched it last month, and yeah, similar things will be launched in the coming times.
Well, that's all the time that we have on the show today. If you have any questions about personal finance or any suggestions, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are coming up. Stay tuned to the channel for the most up-to-date news. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.